Have fun. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our graduate orientation welcome event. This afternoon, we're here with folks from the library. I'll take a few seconds to let everyone trickle in, and then we'll get started. Okay, my name is Caroline Vasquez. I'm Assistant Director of the Office of Graduate Studies, and we're really excited that you've joined us for this orientation event and all of the others on the schedule. Today we're here with Ellen Petrates and Emily Cox from the RISD Library, and they're going to share some really important and helpful information about how you can access their services and the wide range of resources that they have to offer you, both on campus and remotely this semester. So I'll hand it over to them for their presentation.
Sorry. I'm not seeing my screen when I'm sharing.
I can see your screen when you share it, Ellen. It seems to be working.
I see graduate seminar is what I see. I see, all right. You see the library screen? That's weird.
I saw your desktop.
That shouldn't be what you see.
It was a nice little peek into the mind of a librarian.
I'll try.
When you click that share screen button, do you see a box pop up that shows you the screen you would like to see shared?
No, I don't. I see your desktop.
Interesting. Let me go ahead and sign out and see once I leave if it gives you more power.
Okay.
Maybe I'm confusing things, so I'll leave and then I'll pop back in as a guest and see if
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess I'll talk while we're working this out, but I just wanted to let everybody here know that you can ask questions while Ellen is going through this presentation. I'll be sort of monitoring them on the back end and collecting them for when we get to the Q&A portion of this. So if it's a question that you'd like to ask with your own voice, just make a little note and I'll give you that opportunity at the end. Otherwise, I'll ask Ellen the question for you.
Emily, thank you. Could you tell me if you're seeing my screen now?
I am.
You're seeing the library website?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, we worked that out. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone, and thanks for this opportunity, Carolyn, to give an orientation for the library. My colleague Emily and I are here, and we're going to give you a brief overview. There's a lot of information to share with you, but we will be following up with a second webinar in about a week that's specific to using research resources for graduate students. So we're not trying to put everything in this, this one orientation webinar. All right, so I'm going to show you by way of the library website, really kind of a tour around the library and to get you oriented to the different resources we have, both in person and remotely, because we do realize that this is such a challenging time that some of you will not be physically on campus, and that you should think of us as your facilitators to get what you need. So please think of Emily and my colleague Mark Calhoun and I as your facilitators for what you need. So to start out, we're here at the library website. There's an excellent guide. When I refresh my screen, there's an excellent guide that will pop up here that tells you kind of the status of the library and to learn more. And so this guide is really kind of an A to Z of what's going on in the library. So anything that I cover today, you're probably going to find it on this guide as well. And there's information on who to contact and really anything you could want to know is there on that guide. So I'm just going to close that now. So let's start by going through the departments, because we have different areas of the library that have different functions and collections and features. So I'm going to pretend like we're actually physically walking into the library. So on the first floor, the first department or area you're going to encounter is the circulation department. And so this is a photo of the desk on the first floor. It's going to look a little bit different now that we have the social distancing protocols and safety protocols in place, but essentially this is your desk where you're going to check out books. If you come to the library by appointment to check out books, reserves are here. You can ask questions about interlibrary loan or any kind of questions about the first floor collections, which are DVDs and our circulating collections. There's also a mezzanine with periodicals, our zine collection, and the recent thesis. So that's all considered the first floor of the library. So that's circulation. And all of these out-facing departments do have contact information, an email and a phone number where you can call and talk to someone or write to someone for more information. And then along with that, on the first floor is Mark, Emily, and my area called Research and Instruction. And we're the three librarians who are going to do research classes for you. You may find us zooming in to your class later on in the semester. If you need a research consultation, which is a one-on-one meeting with one of us to help kind of further your research, you can do that. You can email us. You can fill out this research help email, which goes to all three of us if you have a general question. But we're doing teaching and then research support. And we are working remotely, but we're actually usually located on the first floor of the library. And then moving on, we'll go to the second floor, and we have an area called archives, and it's really the institutional archives for RISD. And so there's historical documents, as you see in the backsplash photo, photos of early classes of RISD graduates. Other remarkable collections are the older thesis are housed in archives. And so you'll see the location that says RISD Archives in that call number. Also architectural record or architectural drawings for the buildings at RISD are held in archives. And so you can see on their page, they've actually made some buttons to make an appointment directly with them. Also in archives and special collections, they're scanning materials and digitizing them and putting them into our institutional commons, which is called Digital Commons at RISD. They share a space with special collections, and as you can see from this backsplash photo, it's known for rare books and also our artist book collection. And so you can see it's a very similar page to the archives. And then finally, technical services is our behind the scenes, a very important area of the library where we're processing the books, we're ordering, and if you make a request to purchase something in the library, this is the area that the people that will be handling that information. And then finally, Visual and Material Resource Center. It's a materials library, so there are samples that you can check out. The picture collection is housed there. It's about 500,000 clipped images in folders arranged by subject. And so you will also be able to visit these areas by appointment. So going back to the homepage of the library, how do you make an appointment? There are links all over these guides and the website to schedule a library appointment. So the only way you can come in and use the collections is by appointment. So here's basically the layout of this mechanism, this scheduling software that we use. You can see it's divided into the different areas. So if you just want to look at the main library and say next available, you can see the green seats are the seats that are available. And that based on the social distancing and all the safety protocols we're following, you can only have a certain number of people in these spaces at one time. So for example, we do have 2 scanners. If you click the info button next to the seat, it will give you a description of what you can do in that seat. And then if you're interested in that, you would click the next available button, you scroll down a bit, you submit the time, and this is where you fill in your information. You do need to use your RISD email address and the required fields with the asterisk, and then submit your booking. You'll get an email confirmation, and then you'll have a QR code in that email, and when you come to the library, you'll need to check in for your appointment. So we ask that you come on time. If you are in the area and you want to see if there's an appointment, you know, the QR codes, the information is on the outside of the library. But basically, you can only come in if you have an appointment. And again, this is a lot of information. You can always just email us if you need clarification. Okay, so going back to the library website, let's go ahead and move on to online resources. So there's this simple search box that appears on every page of the website, and it has 2 tabs. And if you look at the print in the tabs, you'll see the difference. So the catalog tab is for our physical collections. That includes our DVDs, our ebooks, the thesis are cataloged there. And in better times, you would have access to the Athenaeum and Brown, but right now those collections are closed to us. And then the second tab is where you would get article and electronic resource information. So I'm going to just do a really simple search just to demonstrate how to use this search box. I'm going to use the keywords nature and design. This takes you to our catalog, and the default sort is by relevance. And so you get a list of titles sorted by relevance, and it tells you the most relevant titles come to the top, float to the top of the list. But you could also sort by date to get the most recent. So there are many ways to kind of manipulate your search results to get different ways into the collection. So I'm going to go back to relevance. And you can see the first item, if you notice the icons on the left side of each record, it tells you the format the record will be. So there's a physical book, there's an ebook, a physical book, another ebook. So those of you who are studying remotely, you definitely should know that we have an extensive ebook collection. And again, if you're not finding what you need, just contact me or one of my colleagues and we'll help you. That's really what we do. That's kind of our expertise, is finding relevant information for you. So if we take a look at the first one that says it's the most relevant, I'm just going to look at this record and just give you like a 30-second tip on how to get further into the catalog than just doing a lot of keyword searches. So if you notice, your keywords are highlighted in red, and then if you scroll down, there are always subject headings associated with the topic. And so I'm going to choose nature and art. And when I do that, I go to an alphabetical list of everything that's categorized nature and art. You can see there are a few subcategories, but the largest, it says there are 64 books or items. So I'm going to click that. And by doing that, I've opened up a list of 64 items that are actually relevant to that topic. Okay, so I won't go further into that. I will do that in the next tutorial. We'll get a little bit deeper into searching. I just want to let you know what's available to you that way. So if we go back to the home page and change to Fleet Search, again, this is the electronic resources and the article level. So it's called an integrated search. And our databases that we subscribe to, I would say about 95% of them are linked into this search. So not everything, but the majority of our electronic resources, our journal subscriptions are linked here. So the first thing you see is the book that I chose on that first list. so our catalog is included in Fleet Search. Thesis, the RISD thesis are included, but it's indexing a lot more information than we have full text. You'll also notice that it says, hello guest, log in for full access. So those of you who are working remotely, anyone who's not on campus is going to see this. And so this is very important. And it's also something that people ask questions about all the time. So if you forget, just email one of us to help you. So I'm going to click hello guest, log in for full text access. And it brings you to this login screen. And this information that you log in with is unique to the library. You won't use it anywhere else on campus, but you would type your first or your last name, not your RISD credentials in this login box, and then the barcode number on the back of your ID. So it's a 14-digit barcode number, and it tells you, it always starts with this kind of sequence of numbers. So this is a challenge here at this point. Some of you may not have a barcode number. That's okay. Email Mark, Emily, or I, and we can look in your record and find that barcode number. So this is authenticating us onto campus so that we have access to all the full text databases that we subscribe to. That's basically a very simple explanation of what this is doing. There is another option. And I think this is an important one, and maybe it will be your preferred one, and it's called Virtual Private Network. So there's a link in the follow-up document on how to do this, but basically I will go to that page. It's in the IT services, and it gives you instructions on how to download this client. It's called Global Protect. And so I have it loaded here on my computer, and it's this little grayed out earth symbol up here. So if I click on that, you can see I've already got it set up, but you're basically connecting remotely this way. And so this is a workaround where you don't have to use your barcode number. It's also important to working remotely. If you're working in a place that has firewalls or there's security issues, this is a more secure way to log in. And again, if you want to know all the technical information, go to that the page that I just showed you, and they'll tell you. But that is definitely an important option. So here we are back at this screen. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I've saved my barcode number. I'm going to submit. And there we go. Okay, so now we're in. The guest message has disappeared up here at the top. And so we get a huge number of records here because we've just done a keyword search in a much larger pool, if you want to use that analogy. There are a lot of options you can choose in this interface, which is lovely. So you can really do your research by being kind of systematic and going down and looking at all these different options you have. So for those of you working remotely, you might want to click full text and watch the number go down. Okay, so these are all either ebooks or articles that are full text available to you remotely. If you wanted to narrow it down even more to peer-reviewed, which is the academic level of writing, these are all peer-reviewed full text articles. Available in the library collection is for those of you who are on campus. Those would be things that are physically in the library. So you could also select that. You can change the date range. You can select the source type. So if you just, if you want to look at reviews, they have conference materials. There's quite a lot in this interface. So if I unclick full text, let's just look at this first record. So say I want this article. It says it's a JSTOR article, but it's something that we may not have access to. So you see this request through interlibrary loan link here. This is very important. So those of you working remotely, well, everyone working, you'll want to use interlibrary loan to really request items that aren't available in our vicinity. So this is going to expand your research. So you click that. And with this login, you do use your RISD credentials. So I would use ePatray and then my password for my email. I would log into this, and then you fill out the request form, and you can get a PDF of an article. So for people in Providence, you can also use interlibrary loan for books, but for those of you working remotely, you would only be able to use it for articles. All right, so let's go back. Next, we'll just go, so I mentioned the databases. We also have a database A to Z page so that you can search the databases individually. So this is a list of them. We also have some that are open access that we've highlighted. So open access meaning they're not running through our authentication process. They're open on the web. So we do have some open access resources here. The next thing I'd like to show you, it's part of the research guides, is the index to grad studies. So index to grad study thesis, sorry. So the theses are cataloged and included in our, in the catalog records. And so one of the questions we got is, how do we find thesis from past students on my subject? You know, you could use the bibliography, you could look at how they've approached the topic. You know, there's a lot of value in looking at past thesis. And so, for example, this is interior architecture's index. And so if you're looking at, if you're say, dealing with a project about hospitals or hotels, you could click on this and it's going to bring up theses that are related to your topic. So in this case, it's one. The other thing about the thesis that's very important, so this is for physical and electronic thesis, but for those of you that are specifically remote, doing remote work, the most recent 3 to 5 years thesis are available in Digital Commons, which is our institutional repository. So I'm in it now, I go to master's thesis, and then you can search by department. And then they're listed here by year. And you can download the PDF. And your thesis will probably be here in a year or two. So at this point, I think I've kind of concluded with what I wanted to show you. So I'll just reiterate that my colleagues, Mark and Emily, and myself are available to help you navigate through the library and your research more generally. So we can answer questions not just about this library, but about collections and research in general. So I will conclude there, and let's look to see if anyone has any questions.
Okay, it looks like a few more are coming in, but here's a nice simple one. Do we need our RISD student ID to check out books? So Ellen sort of started to get at this. You need your ID to log in for database access unless you're using the VPN. But yeah, your RISD ID is your library card. So when you actually come to the library to check out books, we scan your ID, and that's how we do need it for you to check out books. If you don't have an ID yet, I'm guessing you're probably not on campus, but if you're on campus, you should make an appointment with Card Services to get your ID because you'll need that for getting into buildings.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. Another question is, somebody's curious about how to search for theses, which you did start to answer. We could probably get deeper into it if you like, but also how to search for journals. So maybe that's something we can look at.
Sure. There are a couple of ways to get at it, but there's a very nice tool here under Library Tools and Services called the eJournals Index. And so it's that same Fleet Search interface, the integrated interface. It's going to come up here in a minute, hopefully. Oops. Try again. This sometimes happens. It was happening yesterday. Let's see.
Yeah.
Try again. So you can search in the catalog for a journal. You can search, let's say, flash art. And since we know the title, we're going to search that. And I think it's this first record, Flash Art International. So it has a little periodical symbol on the left, so you can see that is indeed what you're looking for. And then it gives our holdings here. So in this case, it's a physical journal. We don't have any electronic access to it. So we have a subscription going back from the 70s. Looks like they're not sure when it began. So in this case, if you had a citation to Flash Art for a specific article, you could email the circulation department and they could scan it and email it to you. You could also, if you're out of quarantine, you could make an appointment and come in and look at the Flash Art journal. So the older journals are going to be either in storage or in OpenStax. And again, we can help you interpret what that means. But you could also come in and read the journal or scan it if you like.
I personally love looking at the older art and design journals. It's so great to see the context in which things were published. You see the old advertisements and the old show announcements and things. I love it.
I agree.
When eJournals, when the link that Ellen tried to pull up is working, it's really helpful because you can search for the title of a specific journal, or you can browse for journals in a particular discipline. And then you'll be able to use it to see if we have digital access or print access or both. And you can often then search within a specific journal. So let's say you want to look in the Journal of Landscape Architecture for a specific landscape architect or a specific idea, you can just search within.
It's kind of working. It's slowly, it's trying to work. So I just, I put in a journal that I know we have, Journal of Landscape Architecture. And so it tells you, it comes right up, gives you the ISSN number, which is actually an identifier for that particular journal. You can open this little accordion box to see what our print holdings are. So we have this journal in print starting in 2018, but then we also have it electronically from 2006 to present. So, and then if you wanted to search within that, let's say the word restoration. And it tells you, so I'm looking, I've kind of searched that index for that particular journal. And so, yeah, for here you would click full text finder. Hopefully this is going to work. And it should take you to the Taylor and Francis page where you can get the full text of the electronic version of the journal. Again, this is one of these little corners, nooks and cranny of our electronic resources that if it doesn't work, you can email us. Sometimes it's just a network issue. Sometimes it's a link issue. But please don't give up and don't spend a lot of time getting frustrated over it. Just email one of us and we'll troubleshoot it. So in this case, it looks like it's trying to go through.
Well, we've got a couple questions here that maybe we can move on to if it's not working.
Okay, here it is. It finally worked.
Hooray.
I think talking about it maybe cheered it on. So here's the article.
Great.
All right.
So a few people are wondering about opportunities to work in the library, either through student employment or assistantships, grad assistantships. Can you speak about any of that, Ellen?
Absolutely. So in the menu at the home page, under About, we have a page about student employment. And so there's a page about how to apply, and then the different jobs are listed here. And if you click on, say, the first one, it describes the job and it asks you, it tells you when the hours would be and who to contact. And then sometimes there's a message that tells you whether they're hiring or not. And I think the one that's currently hiring is the picture collection. So they have one shift available. But you would go through these different tabs to see if there are any jobs available.
And we do have graduate assistantships as well, although they're not nearly as common and typically take a bit longer to set up. So if there's an area of the library you're interested in getting to know better, I'd recommend reaching out to the manager of that area and talking to them to see if you can design some kind of assistantship with them. We've had a few in our department of the library.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that maybe goes without saying is that this is sort of an unusual semester for us, and the rate at which we're hiring students is going to be pretty different than usual. And the jobs are a little bit different than usual as well. So we have got a question about how do we go about requesting to add a publication the library doesn't have yet to the catalog?
Mm-hmm. So under that same menu bar here, there's a suggest a purchase box. And you just fill out this form, and this goes to our acquisitions clerk, Donna, and she starts the process of reviewing having the title added to the collection. You can also email one of us, one of the librarians, and we'll start that process as well.
Okay, another question. Somebody noticed that we have access to Kanopy streaming films, and they're wondering if there are any other cool databases for us to check out. Now, I'm biased. I think a lot of our databases are cool, so my answer would probably be too long, but Ellen, maybe you have a couple highlights.
Okay. Well, I would say, yeah, cool is so subjective, but you can definitely go through this whole A to Z list, and Kanopy with a K is definitely a standout. But we also have, we do have other streaming collections. So if we go to films, there are actually 5 or 6 listed here. Well, 3, and then we have our actual, DVD collection, which if you're on campus, you can check out DVDs. And so we do have a list to our recent DVDs here. So again, these are just kind of ways into our collection. I don't know my favorite database these days. It's a good question.
I think ArtStore is pretty great, which is an image database with lots of contributions from museums. So if you've never used an image database, I highly, highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, I talked about digitizing collections on the second floor, and some of our own images are here in ArtStore, things that are available. Let's see. But yeah, ArtStore is definitely, and ArtStore is one of those databases that isn't in the Fleet Search, the integrated search, because it's an image database. So this is something that you would search on your own. Same with Kanopy.
Sort of related questions that have come in have to do with the picture collection, which is technically speaking a sort of, I think it's about 30 years old, maybe a few years older, and it's just folders and folders full of picture clippings. It's kind of amazing, and I like to describe it as a sort of old-fashioned Google image search before the internet. For example, if you want to, look at a folder full of pictures of tires, you can do that. A folder full of pictures of bridges, that kind of thing. But somebody has asked, are there materials from that collection available online? And the answer is yes, but it's not all of them. However, the ones that are online are in ArtStore. So you can use ArtStore to explore a lot of that collection remotely. But they're also offering appointments this semester if you'd like to go in and use it in person.
My favorite picture collection folder is called The Wind. It's images of things being blown around by the wind. That's how ephemeral some of the subjects are.
That's wonderful. And you can find more info about the picture collection on their page in our website. There's a huge index that's been meticulously maintained over the years that tells you all the different topics that you can explore there. We've got a few questions here that I think are coming from folks who missed some of the presentation. So maybe we can go through those sort of quickly. One is, how do you get access to Fleet Library materials online or remotely? And just briefly, I think there'll be more info in the document we share, but essentially you need to log into your library account or use the VPN, the virtual private network, to tell your computer that you are a RISD person with access to these things. So the front page of the library website at the top right has this My Account button, and you log in there with your barcode from the back of your ID. If you don't have that barcode, get in touch with us and we'll help you find it. Somebody else asked about ebooks, how to access ebooks. We have a guide for that and we can share the link. But the way that ebooks work varies depending on who we buy them from. So unfortunately, you'll see a couple of different kinds of ebooks, some of which you can download and keep completely, others of which you need to look at in your browser, or you can potentially download a file that is active for a short amount of time on your computer. So there are a couple different types of ebooks that you'll see. But we can share the link to the ebooks guide and that'll give you a bit more of a thorough overview. And you can also email us if you have questions.
Yeah, the main provider for ebooks is this EBSCO academic ebook collection. So I just linked into that. Let's see if it opens up. It's trying. Nope. Yeah, but they are in that Fleet Search interface, and they're also in the catalog. So
Yep.
The way you would find them in the catalog is they come up, the icon is ebook on the left side of the record.
We have a couple of ebook trials going on right now, one of which is from Project Muse. And those ebooks are mostly in the social sciences and humanities. They're fully downloadable. I think you have to do it chapter by chapter, but you can download the PDF and keep it, which is excellent. There's another one, I think it's Routledge Handbooks Online. It's only a 1-month trial, so use it now and get what you need while you're in there, because that won't last all semester.
But here's an example of an ebook that I just pulled up. So you can see, again, look for this icon. So this is through the catalog, and then you just click on available online, and it's going to take you through those steps again to the login. But I've already logged in once, so it's recognizing me. It takes you directly to the ebook. So the PDF full text is available right here. And the table of contents, you can go in through here. You can search within the contents, which is really quite wonderful. I'm cheating because I see the word heaven right here in front of me. So I'm going to search the word heaven, and it brings up the pages that have that word. It takes you right to it. So it's a real time saver when you're looking for something specific, and you don't have to browse the whole book. You can actually just search within the book. If we go back, if you wanted to download the record, if you wanted to download and kind of own this book for a month, 28 days, you would go to the full download. And this is where you'd have to create an account in EBSCO. And this is different than your RISD credentials or your barcode. So this is something that you could just make up. And then you would be able to download it. It sits on your desktop for a month, 30 days, 28 days. And then on the day it expires, it's just like a little ghost icon. You won't be able to open it up. But the good news is you can download these books. I think the limit is 52 times. I don't know if that coincides with the number of weeks in the year, but you can download them quite a lot. You could also just read it full text online like this by clicking the PDF. And
that's my personal preference.
Yeah, unless you really, but if you want to download the book, that's great too. I hope that answered the question. Can you think of anything else I should mention, Emily?
There's a lot to say about ebooks. I would just say, when you have questions, email us and we'll try and answer them. You can search for ebooks through the library catalog, so that first tab on the front page of the library, or you can use Fleet Search, which is that EBSCO interface with lots and lots of results, that'll also bring up ebooks. So we try to make them as accessible as possible. We've got a few questions about print books though, which is great. We're a really print book focused library, and we have some really amazing stuff that's just not available in ebook format. I think mostly because art and design industries haven't really seen the value in publishing e-versions until recently. So, you know, if you are on campus or living, you know, nearby within range, you will be able to check out books from the library. And your options for doing that will be either to pick up the books, we'll check them out to you and then just hand them to you at the door, or you can make an appointment to come in and pick out your own books. Those start on the 17th, I believe. So there are a few options for that. There's another question about studying in the library. That's a bit tricky right now. Technically, we're only allowing appointments to the library for people who want to use our collections. So if you come in and are studying books or library materials, great. If you're just coming in looking for workspace, that's sort of less okay at the moment, just because we have such limited capacity. We need to be prioritizing people who are using the library collections.
Another thing I would add to that, to save time, if you do come in, it might help you to do some initial searches and write down some call numbers, or talk to a librarian about the areas of the library that you're interested in, so that you can go, you know, make the most of your time when you are there. And I didn't mention, but you can schedule 2 back-to-back appointments, so it can be up to 2 hours in the library. And when I say 2 hours, it's actually a 45-minute increment, but you'll be able to stay over into the second hour. So that will give you some options. And you can schedule a time to browse and then also a time to scan if you need that.
Someone has asked about whether students at RISD use EndNote. Ellen, I'm happy to answer that unless you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So RISD doesn't have subscriptions to any particular citation management software, but there are a number of open source ones that we recommend, in particular Zotero. And I think Brown has a great research guide on how to use Zotero that I can share. In general, if you want to explore citation management, I'd try using one of the open source softwares first, but we don't provide a subscription to any at the moment. We also, within Fleet Search, it's actually pretty simple to download citations. So if that's something that you would like to automate for yourself, it does have some handy features. Looks like Ellen's maybe going to demo that for us.
Good. And I will cover that in the follow-up session, which is going to be called First Year Research Overview. And that's going to be coming out probably next week. I'm going to work on it this weekend, but I'll give you a little preview, because this is a really lovely feature, and definitely as grad students, you're going to be wanting to use this. Okay, so for those of you who tuned in late, here's Hello Guest. It means I'm not actually on the network. I'm going to log in. Now I'm in. Okay, so say I want to create a list, a bibliography, or I'm at home and I'm thinking about coming into the library. It has this folder issue. I'm not discriminating on what these resources are. I'm just making a folder to show you. So I'm putting these things in the folder. And if you go to the top of the screen, there's now a yellow folder with a little piece of paper in it. You click that, and you can email the list to yourself. And when you get to this point in the feature, oh, come on.
This always happens when we're giving demonstrations.
Okay.
Never when you're working on it yourself.
I thought it might happen because yesterday it was slow. So here we are again. 6 items saved in my folder. I'm going to click the email button. Yay. And so you can ask it to format in whatever citation style that you use. And you could just email it to yourself and put something in the subject heading and then click Click send.
Citation and research management are things that we'll be happy to talk to you about one-on-one if it's something that either you want to invest some time into.
Great.
Next couple questions are about Brown. So again, we're in a sort of strange situation right now where things are not as they usually are. These questions are about using Brown Library and the Brown Library databases. So there are two aspects there, one of which is going to the library, physically checking out print books, and then there's the online databases aspect. I will tell you that right now we are not allowed to go to the Brown libraries. Usually we are. Usually you can get a door card, you can go in and check out books, spend time in the library, which is wonderful. Unfortunately, our access to Brown's databases is on-site only. So normally the advice that we give people is go to the Brown Library and sit down at a visitor computer, bring a USB drive or whatever you like to download stuff onto, and you'll have access to all of their databases, ebooks, and things from inside the library. Because we're not allowed inside the library right now, we don't have that access. So essentially we're cut off from Brown for the semester, at least. What you can do to get around that right now is work with one of us. So you can submit interlibrary loan requests. We can get items from other libraries. We can also, sometimes make special requests of Brown, although that's also very limited at the moment. So if there are things that you're not able to find through RISD resources, just get in touch with us and we'll do everything we can to help you get them.
Thanks, Emily. I would ask to, or just, it's kind of a triage approach, but in our catalog, there is a link here to search Brown. So it's a feature that it basically repeats this keyword search into Brown. So we have access to their catalog. Their catalog is open. Here it is. So just by virtue of them being, 3 to 4 million items, and we're about, I don't know, 150 to 200,000 items in our catalog, just the sheer numbers is a good reason to just look at, to see what's available in their catalog. And then so I would use this as a bibliographic tool, kind of think of it as fleet search. And then you won't be able to get the book necessarily, but you can look at it, look at the record. In some cases, there's a table of contents. And then what I would say is, let's look at something that's a little, these are really old items. The annex is definitely not available to us. Okay, this book, for example. So if I wanted this book, I would just copy and paste that, go to the home page, and then request it through interlibrary loan. So interlibrary loan is where we're requesting the book from a network of borrowing libraries. So Brown isn't one of them. But Brown's not the only library who has this book. And so we should be able to get this for you from another library. Unfortunately, that's not going to help people who are working remotely. Yeah, I knew I didn't put this in correctly. Let's see, try again. I'm trying to talk and put in my password. There we go. So this is what interlibrary loan looks like. And so you can make a new book request. I believe that was the book. And then you just fill in that information, right? You have to fill in this and then submit the request. And it takes 1 to 2 weeks for books. It's going to be much faster for articles. So those of you working remotely, remember this. This is a really good way to get articles that maybe you find a citation on the web. You can use interlibrary loan to try to request the article. Okay. So that's Brown in a nutshell. That's as close as we can get to Brown right now.
So I shared into the chat a Google Doc that Ellen put together with all of the links that she showed in this presentation. It looks like there aren't any more questions coming in, so I thought maybe it'd be a good time to share that with you so you can explore. But just know that it's our job to answer your questions. So we're here whenever you come up against something that's confusing or you just want a little help, big or small questions, just get in touch with us.
And we're happy to Zoom an interview, reference interaction with you. So if you want to do see our faces and talk face to face, we can do that. We can also just correspond through email. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, I just want to thank Grad Studies for giving us this opportunity, and thank my colleague Emily for her excellent support in presenting today. And we'll see you again. We're going to see you in your classes and maybe in person. So sign off now.
Eventually in person.